2025 NCAA March Madness Men's Tournament is back, and this time it is bringing all the feels. The biggest event in college sports tips off March 18th, and you don't want to miss a second of the heart-pumping action. Catch all the clutch shots, big-time plays, upsets, Cinderellas, Blue Bloods, and more. Tune in to the NCAA Men's Division I Basketball Championship March 18th through April 7th on TBS, CBS, TNT, True TV, and Stream on Max.
It's time for basketball, and Uber Eats is dropping deals on game day favorites to keep you locked in on the action. Like when you're craving a buzzer beater, but also buffalo wings. Or when an upset makes you want to ugly cry into a pizza. And right now, Uber Eats has game day deals from Burger King, Buffalo Wild Wings, KFC, and hundreds more local favorites. So you can keep your eyes on the ball and your hands on a burger. Order now, only on Uber Eats. Product availability varies by region. See app for details.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, to check the Jumbotron first, before attempting to eat a stack of Supreme nachos in one bite. Now you're just a meme that everyone shares on game day. Checking first is smart, so check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Hello and welcome to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast, and welcome to the return of our women's football show. And I don't think there's ever been a better time to be recording one of these, because at the time of recording, Forest are top of the league. They've just had two very, very important wins in the league, and then there's the small matter of a cup final this weekend. So I'm joined by Adam, and Adam, as our women's football correspondent, you must be absolutely top of the world at the moment.
Absolutely delighted, mate. Yeah, look, two massive games. I mean, the Burnley game was a game that we knew would be tough. It's a game you go into thinking this is a real 6-pointer affair. This is a real game that will decide the title, really, in all likelihood anyway. So that was a massive result. And the Derby game was not dissimilar to the Derby away game. It was made to be a lot harder than it should have been, potentially, against a pretty poor Derby side. But the thing is, with that Derby team, what they are is they are resolute, they are structured, and they were up for it. So we just had to dig deep, stay patient, and got the win in the end, which is all that matters. And yeah, I've got my tickets ready for Saturday. I'm really excited. Should be a good day.
Cool. Let's start off then by talking about the Burnley match. Obviously, one of the things that last time you and I were talking about the women's team is about the expansion of the squad and the availability of players. And I think actually, just like the men's team, we've been pretty lucky, haven't we, in terms of injuries and availability. So in terms of that match, yeah, like you said, top of the table, 6-pointer, going back to the start of the season when you and Elliot predicted it was going to be between Forest and Burnley for top spot. So in that case, the 3 points was absolutely vital, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was massive. And, we weren't far off with that prediction, really. I mean, it's always tough going into these seasons to sort of predict who is going to be up there. Wolves have been the bit of the surprise package this year. They've probably been a bit better than expected. Stoke have been great. Well, I remember when we played Stoke away earlier in the season, they didn't look a good side, and they've really turned it around and looked a good team. So it's a competitive league. I mean, it's as simple as that. Every team wants to get out of this league. It's hard to get out of. Forest were quite unlucky last year not to get out of it, and you have to beat the teams around you. Yeah, there's no room for error, and luckily there hasn't been any error. And that is something to be certainly proud of. And it's just been a really fantastic year. The Burnley game was one of those where the game at the City Ground was cagey. When we played them at home, it was really cagey. It was really tough affair. It was really, they dug in. They looked a good side, and they looked every bit as good as Forest on that day. Forest had a lot more of the ball and that sort of thing, but it was a lot close. It was a really, really close, good game of football. Whereas this game at Burnley, we took control of a little bit earlier, got the goals, and got out with the win and got out with the 3 points. And I think that probably puts Burnley out of the title race now. I know that's probably a bold statement to make, but with how small room there is for error, losing a game like that's going to be a big hurter for them.
Yeah, and there's only so many games left. Frankly, they might basically run out of games, mightn't they? Going back to Forest performance, I mean, we've talked so many times about how Charlie Wellings and Mel Johnson are the main goal threats. So it's probably quite good to see that we had two different goal scorers on this occasion with Sophie Domingo and Freya Thomas.
I think it proves and it shows that the quality is there all around the squad. And I think that's you desperately need that in this league to get promoted. You don't want to have a situation where if Charlie Wellings gets injured, it's game over for the season. So to get the goals from elsewhere is really promising. Freya is the epitome of that midfielder that is calm as you like on the ball. Every time she's on the ball, you're comfortable with it. And she started chipping in with goals. It's not really been her game traditionally, but this, the last sort of the run-in after Christmas, she's been really good at the goals and assist side of things, playing that like final killer ball that's classed as a key pass to give a good XG, if I'm being all like that, but without getting the assist. So she's been great, and it's nice to get those goals from elsewhere.
Would you say that maybe Freya is the Nico Dominguez of the women's team?
Yeah, I mean, she's certainly tenacious like Dominguez is. I mean, she will snap into a tackle when need be. So, yeah, I think it's not a bad comp there, to be fair.
Okay. And, I mean, having said that, Charlie Wellings did also hit the bar in that game, didn't she? So she's very keen to get in on the action and capitalise on a rather impressive season. I mean, overall, was 2-0 a fair result?
Yeah, I think so. I think in the grand scheme of things it was. Burnley didn't look as good as it did at the City Ground. I think that's, they knew full well they had to be right at it. And if they weren't, then, unfortunately that's what's going to happen. So, yeah, it was a much more one-sided game than the game at the City Ground, and they'll be disappointed by that. But I think for us, as not as good as they were, we were much, much better than they were. And I think that's the main thing. It was a completely different game, though, to the City Ground game. And we've seen that a lot this season where we've played teams home and away. I mean, the good example is Wolves. We actually hammered them at their place and we really struggled at the City Ground. It's just how it goes sometimes, isn't it? It's football, it defies description sometimes, isn't it, really?
Yeah, that's why I tend to shy away from predictions as much as possible. Having said that, given the league positions and the respective fortunes of the clubs, both in the men's and women's game, I think we all were pretty desperate to get that victory against Derby County, weren't we? And of course, Derby are not doing so well in the league. But as you mentioned, on Derby Day, all form goes out the window. It becomes tenacious, it becomes niggly, it becomes a battling game. So 2 goals from Charlie Wellings on this occasion, back in the goals. Talk us through the kind of key moments in that match then.
Yeah, it's a really good. Like I say, I mean, Derby just they dug in, and this is the thing. This is the thing that is really nice and really positive to see that the Derby games at the women's level are the same as the men's. They really are. Like they're such one-off games. Derby, who they're safe from relegation. I don't see them going down at this point, but they are very firmly mid-table. They're a poor side. They're a side that we should really be. Like when we've had the games, we've won 7-8-0. Derby should be one of them games, but wasn't. And I think the main reason it wasn't is because Derby just dug in. And I think that's the thing. You've got to have these games where they're going to be tough. 0-0 at half-time was about right. There was a couple of chances in the first half, but we didn't really create anything clear-cut. It's one of those typical games, unfortunately, with this team where we get sometimes where it's like we have a lot of the ball, but struggle with that final ball, struggle with breaking, the other team down. It felt like, I don't want to say this too much because I know that with the men's team we've had this many a time over the years, but it felt like just one of those days where it wasn't going to go well, and obviously the penalty completely changed the game. Bizarrely, I saw a lot of Derby fans online saying it wasn't a penalty. I can't really understand what they were watching with that. It's absolutely a penalty, and obviously Charlie tucked it away like she does. And
so, for anyone who's not seen it, it's a penalty awarded for handball. Just tell us what it is that you saw and what it is that the Derby fans were grumbling about.
Well, the argument online was that it was an incidental handball, which in 2025 I'm not sure exist. per the rules. So you could see it as harsh. It's come up to her, it's hit her hand. Maybe it's a little bit harsh, but they get given every day of the week. You see them. If they had VAR in the women's game, that gets given by VAR anyway. There's no argument for me whatsoever. If you haven't seen it, you want to go back and watch it. Obviously, go back and watch it. You've got your own opinion on that. But yeah, the Derby fans it was a little bit harsh. There's a foul in the build-up on Charlie as well, which is interesting. Then the shot comes from Mel, and it's her hand's down by her side, and it's hit her arm. There is no argument to be made that that's not a penalty.
Mm.
Her arm's not all the way. You know when they say like a natural position?
Yeah.
Her arm is probably in a natural position, but it stops the ball from going into the back of the net. It's a goal. It's a penalty all day long. And Ali, no different. It's just Derby fans being bitter, which is, what's new, eh?
And so it was sort of that was the breakthrough, and Forest still toiled away. You mentioned Mel Johnson, and Mel Johnson kind of got through on goal. She had some shots saved. Another ball came back to Charlie, and that was blocked on the line. So that penalty was so important because the efforts in open play just weren't going in, were they? But again, we got a chance to double that advantage not long into the second half. So it was Millie Chandarana winning possession, finding Mel, and then Mel freeing up Charlie to put the game. Hopefully, they always say 2-0 is a dangerous scoreline, but it's better than 1-0, isn't it?
Yeah, luckily it's not been that dangerous for this team. So no, Millie doing what she does. I think this is the thing with Millie Chandarana is that the way that she plays. If you want a men's comp, she can be a bit Ryan Yates-ish. She will win the ball a lot. She will take it off the toe, and it's exactly what she did. And it's that play and transition again. It's when we do break against teams, a bit like the men's team, it can be deadly. The finish by Charlie, I mean, if again, anyone that's listening that's not watched it, go and watch the goal. It's a great finish. Inside left channel, she just puts it into the far corner. Really, really difficult for the goalkeeper to get down to it. And it's what we've got. I mean, I will maintain this fact, but potentially a controversial opinion. I do think she's a WSL striker, Charlie Waynes. I think that she's got that ability. Playing 2 leagues below that, she's going to score a lot of goals. And I think that hoping this Forest team go up, 5 points clear now with a couple of games to go. You'd hope that we go up, but I've seen with the men's team, like the Stoke game a number of years ago, that you can't ever count things. So, but no, if the team goes up, I think that Charlie's going to be magnificent in the Championship. Should we be able to keep hold of her anyway?
Yeah, and I think that's what you're getting at, isn't it? Is if for whatever reason things do go wrong, then you can see Charlie getting snapped up at a higher level. And actually, we've talked about this before, but if Mel Johnson is the seasoned pro, then Charlie, I suppose, is the kind of the younger, exciting, really confident foil to Mel up front.
Yeah, she is, and I think that she can only be learning from Mel, and I think that's the positive for having that structure there. Obviously, Mel being the top goal scorer in the Championship for Bristol, so again, you're talking a player that's coming in that's done it at this level. So yeah, look, it can only help Charlie kick on. Obviously, when she was playing in Scotland, she was still scoring goals. She's always scored goals wherever she's been. I think Forest bought what you'd consider a relatively proven commodity, but again, you never know how you're going to adapt to a new team and new settings. But she's been outstanding, and it's why she's been in the team majority of the season, and it's why I think that she'll do it at the next level as well.
So that seems like a good moment to take a little break. We'll be back in just a minute, where we're going to preview Saturday's Cup final.
I was never really a runner. The way I see running is a gift, especially when you have stage 4 cancer. I'm Anne. I'm running the Boston Marathon, presented by Bank of America. I run for Dana-Farber Cancer Institute to give people like me a chance to thrive in life, even with cancer.
Join Bank of America in helping Anne's cause. Give if you can at BofA.com/supportAnne. What would you like the power to do? References to charitable organizations is not an endorsement by Bank of America Corporation. Copyright 2025.
You're listening to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast.
Welcome back to the 1865 Nottingham Forest podcast and our women's show with me, Rich Ferraro, and him, Adam. So, Adam, big match on Saturday, a big day. It's a cup final. It's in the salubrious and exciting setting of the Bescot Stadium, which is a place that, frankly, I never ever wanted to visit again. Talk us through what you're expecting for Saturday's big match from both teams.
It's going to be a really good day. I mean, I think that we've got, from what I've seen ticket sales wise, we should have, a decent amount of fans there, a couple of thousand, which would be great. Stoke are, I mean, if I'm calling anyone, I think Stoke are probably the surprise package this year. After starting so poorly, to be where they are now, which is joint second with Wolves, it's miraculous for them, and fair play to them. But I just think that on the day, there's not many teams, even in the Championship, so the league above where Forest are playing currently, that would be able to handle Forest on their day. Never mind teams in the same league as them. So I think for me, I don't see a scenario where, we don't win this game. But I think that's obviously famous last words. And, you don't want to go in with too much confidence. But, we played them home and away, and we battered them home and away. I know you can't always look into previous meetings, situations and circumstances change, but the aggregate score this season against Stoke is 7-0. I think if we went into this game and didn't win, it'd be massively disappointing. Yes, of course, the league is the main thing, but everyone wants to win a trophy along the way as well, and it would just cap off a magnificent season.
Yeah, so a couple of things that are kind of worth noting. I think, firstly, obviously Forest top of the league, but Stoke probably one of the form teams along with Forest and Wolves. With regards to Forest's form, we know we're doing supreme in the league. Also, I mean, there's been some recognition, hasn't there? So Carly had she got... Manager of the Month or something. She had some award recently, hasn't she? Yeah.
She got Manager of the Month. I wagered to bet that she gets Manager of the Season as well.
Yeah, I mean, and of course, it's very easy to give Manager of the Season to the team that hopefully, fingers crossed, finishes top. But yeah, I mean, she's done a supreme rebuilding job in the space of less than a year, hasn't she? So it's been quite outstanding. So for those of our listeners who are not familiar with the Forest women's team, tell us what you would expect in terms of formation and personnel based upon what you've seen so far this season.
I don't think there'll be a massive change in the squad. It's not something that's been tinkered with too much. She's kept a relatively similar formation. I think the question is been about certain players, throughout the season. It's like Sophie Domingo, for example, was earlier in the season we were discussing about maybe not being in the side and then being in the side and sort of going in and out. And I think it shows the squad that we have that that's possible. I think if you're looking at the team, I think obviously you're going back to in goal. And you're going Harkin, Johnson at the back. They're going to be locked in every game. Molly Green's been fantastic. I'd imagine she keeps her place. It depends on the system. I think you probably. I don't think you change the team from Derby personally. So I think you go Longhurst as well, and obviously in midfield you go for Oldin, Thomas, probably Haywood. The only thing I would say is that because of the rotation, it might not be. It depends on the system that's played. Chandara. And obviously you've got Johnson and Charlie Wellens. I think they're obviously Sophie Domingo's left out again. She's just been, it's almost like a curse sometimes when you've got a player that's really good off the bench, and it then becomes that's what they're known for. But she's just so impactful off the bench that it's almost like you don't start her. You know what I mean? It's like she's got the ability to start, but then you kind of don't start her because of that. So it's a bit of a weird one, but I think that's probably the way that we're looking. I think it'll be unchanged. The one to pick out there is probably Millie Chandara because she has been very in and out of the team. I just think that she gives you a lot of energy in midfield, and I would like to see that from the start against Stoke. Really put them under pressure. So I think that's probably the way we're going. But again, it's tricky. It's tricky to pick out. But listen, when you've got a squad this big, you're going to have selection dilemmas, and it's a good headache for Carly Davies to have.
Yeah, and again, I guess there's a parallel there with the men's team, isn't it? Whereby we know that we've got, a sort of a fairly consistent, maybe 14 or 15 players who are in contention at first team level, but you're never quite sure whether he's going to go for Dominguez or Yates, or if he's going to, change the formation slightly, whether he's going, the back five, I guess, for the men's team stays the same most matches unless he decides to change the formation. So it sounds to me like there's a real parallel there with the way that Carly's running the women's team. Thinking about some of the kind of fringe names, so you mentioned Sophie Hayward, who obviously has come in fairly recently. We've had a couple of other new signings, but just to mention a few names there, I mean, the likes of Holly Turner, Amy Sims, Cara Hamilton. Would you see any of those, or would you say they're most likely to be on the bench?
I think Cara Hamilton's been fantastic this season. I think playing that sort of wing-back, full-back role, I think she's done really well. So I think that, there's definitely the potential. It depends on the system. If it's like a traditional sort of 4 at the back, or it's 3 at the back with wing backs, or it looks different in transition. It's played a bit differently this season, so it's kind of hard to tell where it's going to go. I would personally keep it the same as Derby. I desperately want to get Sophie in the team. I just don't see where she slots into that system. I think it's going to be a tougher one for her. So she got the goal against Burnley, and I think that's probably the thing that's swaying me a little bit, but maybe you want to keep your winning side, keep a side that looked really, really solid against Derby. Obviously, it was fairly uninspiring from an attacking standpoint, but just looked really solid at the back. Wasn't really tested at all by Derby, and maybe that's what she wants to keep. Hayward's a really interesting one because, like you say, she hasn't been in the side so long, come in and done a really good job. It's tough. It's really tough. Obviously, you've got I think at the start of the season, me and we had this chat, and it was kind of that whole discussion of Amy Sims comes in from Derby. She's going to come in. She's going to be this really important player. She's going to be starting every game, captaincy or vice captaincy sort of thing, and that hasn't happened. So it's interesting to see. I think I'd keep an eye on Cara Hamilton being back in the side. I do think that is a potential, and then obviously again, it's going to be on the day sort of thing. It's difficult to tell, but I keep it the same from Derby personally.
Okay, fabulous. Now, I'm not going to ask you to make a prediction, but I am going to invite you because for listeners, we're not doing our regular Friday 5 show this week because we're doing this women's show instead. Jamie's news bulletin will be incorporated into our Football Terrorists show that we're recording over the weekend, so you'll be able to hear the latest news then. But Adam, we want to hear back from you next week after your day out and in the salubrious settings of Walsall playing Stoke. Now, that puts shivers down the spine of fans of the men's team, but it's going to be a big day out for the women. So we're going to finish off by saying thank you very much to Adam, and come on you Reds.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit To get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.